Right now on Morning News Now, surrendered. Former President Trump turned himself into authorities in Fulton County, Georgia, over that alleged plot to overturn the 2020 election there. It was a process that resulted in this mugshot, a first for a former commander-in-chief. We'll have Trump's reaction to it all, what's next, plus the political implications in the race for the White House. Also this morning, some chilling new information surrounding that deadly bar mass shooting in Southern California. What authorities are now saying about why a retired police officer pulled the trigger. Plus, on the record, Russian President Vladimir Putin now speaking out, making his first public comments about the head of the Wagner Group, who is presumed dead in a fiery plane crash. His words of praise and pity for the man who led an aborted mutiny against Russian military leaders. And going for golds, a masterclass in sportsmanship from two top pole vaulters who both took home the gold after the competition of a lifetime.
I love that story so much. We saw the exact same thing happen at the Olympics a few years ago, sharing the gold. It's a great story. Good morning. Good to have you with us on this Friday. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Valerie Castro in for Savannah Sellers. We begin this morning with Donald Trump, who is now, for the first time in American history, a former president with a mugshot.
This photo of Donald Trump was taken after he surrendered to Georgia authorities at the Fulton County Jail yesterday. There he was processed on 13 felony charges in connection with efforts to try and overturn the 2020 presidential election results in the state. With the area around the jail on heavy lockdown, the former president was inside for less than 20 minutes. He was read his rights, fingerprinted, given the identification number P011358809, and then released on a $200,000 bond. After leaving the jail, Trump wasted little time posting his mugshot to X, formerly known as Twitter, and continuing to proclaim his innocence.
What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it. I've never had such support. And that goes with the other ones, too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election.
Should be noted there is no evidence of the former president's election fraud claims, and more than 6 lawsuits brought by Trump's legal team challenging the election results have all failed in court. We have full team coverage of this major moment in American history. We're going to start with NBC News Justice and Intelligence correspondent Ken Delaney and NBC News legal analyst, former federal prosecutor Glenn Kirshner. Good morning to both of you. Ken, let's start with you. This is yet another unprecedented moment. We've seen a lot of them so far, but this is the first time we've seen a mugshot of a former or sitting president. Take us through last night's arrest and what the feeling is around the Trump camp this morning.
Good morning, Joe. Well, that mugshot is really a profound illustration and symbol of how this booking process in Fulton County was strikingly different from the other 3 times that Mr. Trump has been booked in those 2 federal cases and the one in New York, because in Fulton County, he was booked into the jail, a notorious county jail, which is under federal investigation, a nasty place. In the other bookings, he was in courthouses. He was arraigned. That's not what happened here. And although he wasn't treated like any other inmate booked into that jail, officials took steps to approximate the treatment of other inmates. And the mugshot was a great example of that. In no other case did any of the other officials decide that a mugshot was necessary. And the sheriff had told our Blaine Alexander that in Fulton County that he wasn't sure until the very last minute that that was going to go forward. But in the end, they decided to do that. Trump had to post bond like any other defendant through a bail bondsman. There were certain demographic data was taken, including his height and weight, although those don't appear to be accurate. And it just underscored that this is a different kind of a process, a very serious undertaking. Now, in terms of the Trump campaign's reaction, it's one of defiance. As you said, they're already fundraising off this mugshot picture, and they are saying that they believe that this only benefits Mr. Trump. But that really remains to be seen. We've never been here before, as you said, a former president now facing 4 separate criminal indictments. Joe.
A little more detail on what you said, Ken. He said his height was 6'3", his weight 215 pounds. Glenn, now that Trump has been booked and posted bond, does anything change for him legally? How does this impact what he can say and what he can't say?
Yeah, so the so-called gag order is already in place. He can't say anything that would be intimidating or threatening of witnesses. And, only time will tell whether he violates that. And then the next thing that will happen, Joe, is he'll be presented to the court. He'll be arraigned on the charges. That's when he is formally put on notice of what he's been indicted of, what he will have to defend against. He will enter his plea, presumably of not guilty. And then the court will set an all-important next status hearing date. We already had one trial date set for one of Donald Trump's co-conspirators, co-defendants, Kenneth Chesebro. And I think the big thing that we'll all be watching for now is when will the other trial date, or plural dates, be set.
So, Ken, the former president just changed attorneys in Georgia. We've seen him change attorneys before. What can you tell us about this change at such a critical juncture and what we know about his new attorney?
Yeah, he's brought in Stephen Sadow, who's a well-known, well-regarded criminal defense attorney in Atlanta, and importantly has experience with racketeering cases, which is the heart of the charges against Mr. Trump and his co-defendants. In terms of the scheduling and the pace here, most legal experts do not believe that this Fulton County case will be the first case or even the second case that goes to trial involving former President Trump. And in fact, Joe, on Monday, the federal judge in Washington, D.C., Tanya Chutkan, will hold a hearing at which she will set a trial date in the other election suppression case, the one brought by special counsel Jack Smith. And many people believe that is the one most likely to go to trial the earliest next year, Joe.
And Glenn, I mean, one of Trump's co-defendants, Kenneth Chesebro, a campaign lawyer, already has a trial date, and it's soon, 2 months away in October. To be clear, he asked for a speedy trial. So does that have any impact on the case against Trump?
The case against Trump, it might not, Joe, but here's what I suspect will happen. If any of the 18 other defendants request a speedy trial date, Judge McAfee, the presiding judge down in Georgia, will be able to say, well, we have a ready-made speedy trial date on October 23rd because one defendant has already made that demand. So I predict if other defendants request a speedy trial, they will be added in as co-defendants in that October trial. And then the next question becomes, what kind of other trial dates might Fani Willis request for Trump and all the remaining co-defendants? And will it be one mega trial date where she tries to pack all remaining co-defendants in, or might she batch defendants together as we sometimes do in the large-scale Rico cases? And I think these are questions that are going to be answered in the near term.
The calendar is getting complicated. All right, Ken Delaney and Glenn Kirshner, thank you both.
For more, we're now joined by NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, good morning. How are Republicans at the Capitol reacting to the former president's latest arrest?
Yeah, good morning, Valerie and Joe. Well, look, obviously Congress is on recess, so those who are speaking out clearly want to speak out. We haven't heard from a number of Republicans. That being said, though, including top Senate Republicans, which is not too surprising because they also were pretty mum when it comes to the former president's prior indictments and legal challenges. But we saw what happened at the courthouse with Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, who represents a nearby district there in Georgia, coming down just ahead of the former president surrendering. She then took to X or Twitter, posting a mugshot of the former president. So did others who are in his corner, including Andy Biggs and others as well. But we also heard from the number 3 House Republican, and that is Elise Stefanik. She has endorsed the former president. She's the most high-ranking endorsement. She tweeted in part saying Trump is, quote, being arrested for rightfully challenging the election. And she vowed for House Republicans to investigate the, quote, corrupt collusion of Jack Smith and Fani Willis. She went on to accuse President Biden of weaponizing the justice system against Trump. This is something we heard time and time again, but really no surprising reactions from members of Congress.
Someone else showing support, top House Republican and staunch Trump ally Jim Jordan wants DA Fani Willis to turn over any documents or communications between her and special counsel Jack Smith, something she has said repeatedly she hasn't done. What's the congressman trying to do here?
Well, Jordan says he's not buying that. He still believes that there has been some communication, which, by the way, is not against the law. It's totally kosher for departments to be communicating with each other, especially when her investigation followed some of the same lines that special counsel Jack Smith indicted the former president on as well when it comes to 2020 election interference. But we heard from Congressman Jordan last night speaking alongside Oversight Chairman James Comer, and they both said that they are going to be as aggressive in this investigation against DA Fani Willis as they have been in the New York investigation of DA Alvin Bragg during that first indictment there, they charged that Fani Willis did have some kind of communications, and they wrote her a letter saying they want to see if she also took funds from the federal government to conduct her investigation. So they're really trying to see if those two were, as in Jordan's words, colluding in this. Of course, Willis has said they haven't been, but he's really going to do everything he can to defend the former president, because this is really the job of the House Republicans. They do oversight, and this is a pattern that we've seen from them in the past. So it's really not too surprising that they're making this move.
And Julie, so far, these charges are not something that GOP voters seem to care about, with the former president enjoying that wide margin over his Republican rivals. But is there any concern among Republicans on Capitol Hill that this is overshadowing their effort to win the 2024 presidential election?
Yeah, that's such a great point, Valerie. And there's a couple of things there, right? Because you have Republicans on Capitol Hill who don't want former President Trump back in the White House, right? You have senators and House members who already come out and endorse the other candidates who are vying for that 2024 election nomination from the Republican Party. We saw what happened on the debate stage this week. Of course, Trump still managed to overshadow them, even though he wasn't there. And then you have other Republicans who are vulnerable, who are maybe in districts that Biden won, who think that having Trump on the ballot again could hurt their chances of even winning back the House and the Senate come 2024. So there are a couple of things happening at the same time here. Certainly, Republicans prefer to focus on economics, on immigration, on things they really think they can have a leg up over Democrats. Trump, especially when it comes to these election interference cases, keeps 2020 back in the headlines over and over again. And we saw what happened in the last election. That wasn't entirely popular with voters.
All right, Julie Sirkin, thanks so much.
Let's turn now to NBC News senior national politics reporter Jonathan Allen. John, good morning to you. So in the race for President, Trump still has a large lead over his Republican rivals for the party's nomination. It's support that has not wavered despite the 4 indictments. In fact, a recent NBC News poll with the Des Moines Register, it shows that about 2/3 of likely GOP Iowa caucus goers believe Trump has not committed serious crimes. Any reason to believe that this is going to change anything, especially now with the mugshot being made public?
Yeah, good morning, Joe, and good morning, Valerie. Nothing is going to change from this. What we saw was a Republican debate earlier this week among people who are competing for second place. It is right now a one-man race. It has been for quite some time now. That could, of course, change at some point, but we've seen the former president indicted repeatedly. And then after that debate, after all that attention was given to those candidates, what we saw was the most momentous surrender in Georgia history since the mayor of Savannah turned over the keys to General Sherman back in the Civil War.
So, John, I mean, Trump is facing a number of legal troubles. During that debate you mentioned on Wednesday, most of his rivals pledged to support him as the party's nominee, even if he's convicted. Is there any sign this latest indictment is going to change the strategy of anyone's campaign beyond Chris Christie, who's been really the only one incredibly critical of him?
There really isn't any sign of that. To your point, 7 out of 8 of them said that if he's convicted of a crime, they will still support him if he's a Republican nominee. I think it makes it very difficult, and has made it very difficult for these candidates to get any traction against him at a moment where they're basically saying, look, voters, if you nominate him, we're going to be unified behind him. Even Christie, who, to your point, has been very critical, and Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas, who just had on the screen there, who's very critical of him. It is not amounting to really making a case that Donald Trump either shouldn't be the nominee for reasons that he would lose the general election, or perhaps that he shouldn't be the nominee because he is somebody who is potentially going to be convicted of crimes.
So we had an interesting development last night. For the first time since January 6th, Trump posted something on X, the site formerly known as Twitter. How significant is that? Remember, he was kicked off after January 6th. Elon Musk reinstated him, but he hasn't posted on it until now. What's the strategy behind using X for the first time in more than 2 years?
Yeah, Prince, or X, or the artist formerly known as Twitter, is a much broader platform than the Truth Social platform that he's been posting to for a long time. So this is a way for him to communicate, obviously, directly with millions and millions of his supporters, but also with a broader audience. There's been a little bit of a waiting game since he had the Twitter ban lifted from him and has been allowed to come back to that platform. He had not done it Now we see the mugshot, and I guess we'll have to see whether he continues to use Twitter, but it is a weapon of choice for him, as we saw in the 2016 election and throughout his presidency and into the 2020 election.
All right, John Allen, good to have you with us this week. We appreciate your analysis.
Turning now to California, where officials are continuing their search for a motive behind Wednesday's Orange County mass shooting. 4 people were killed and another 6 were injured when an ex-cop opened fire in a popular biker bar. NBC News national correspondent Miguel Almaguer has the latest.
As the chaos unfolded and 911 calls flooded in,
male came in and started shooting. Each officer fired.
Law enforcement sources tell NBC News the gunman, a retired police officer, opened fire inside this historic Southern California biker bar, apparently targeting his estranged wife, killing 3.
I saw 2 bodies drop.
With shots fired just after 7 p.m., it took officers 2 minutes to arrive at Cook's Corner, an Orange County venue popular with families. Authorities say the shooter, identified as retired Ventura County Police Sergeant John Snowling, was armed with multiple guns.
Oh my God, Marie.
NBC Los Angeles speaking to a witness who was with the gunman's wife, Marie Snowling, who was shot in the jaw and survived.
He turns around and then he starts shooting at me and Marie, his wife. When I saw people running, I'm like, oh my God, I got shot at and I didn't die and I better run now before I get killed.
With 6 people hospitalized, investigators say the gunman immediately began firing at arriving officers who killed him in a hail of gunfire.
All of a sudden, you started hearing gunshots more, and people started screaming and running.
A scene of chaos and carnage with innocent families in the crosshairs.
Our thanks to Miguel Almaguer for that reporting. Investigators are continuing to comb through every aspect of that suspect's life. It appears he may have driven all the way to California from Ohio with a plan to kill.
Russian President Vladimir Putin is offering his condolences to the family of Yevgeny Prigozhin, who's presumed dead after Wednesday's plane crash. Russian aviation officials say the leader of the mercenary Wagner group was on the private jet when it came down in a region northwest of Moscow. NBC News foreign correspondent Megan Fitzgerald joins us now with the latest on this. So, Megan, as we know, Prigozhin was behind that aborted Moscow mutiny back in June. What is Putin saying about him in this incident?
So, Joe, good to be with you. Good morning. We did hear from Vladimir Putin yesterday for the first time, breaking his silence, saying that this is an ongoing investigation and that his investigators need more time. He went on to offer condolences to Yevgeny Prigozhin's family and then went on to offer what appeared to be sort of mixed emotions. I want to read for you so you can decide. He says, this was a person with a complicated fate. He made mistakes in life, but also sought to achieve the results he wanted for himself and in response to my request for a common cause. Now, a lot of speculation on if Putin was referring to that mutiny that was launched by Prigozhin, which ended up happening 2 months to the day that that aircraft went down. Joe?
So, Megan, clearly lots of reports, lots of suspicion circulating around what may have caused the crash. What's NBC News learning from U.S. officials, and what's just the initial assessment from the Pentagon?
Right. So NBC News has confirmed from two U.S. officials that from the investigation and the intelligence that they have gathered so far, that they believe that sabotage is what brought that plane down. They believe that there was some sort of an explosive on board that went off and created that crash. But I want you to listen to a little bit of what the Pentagon said. Take a listen.
Our initial assessment is that it's likely Prigozhin was killed. We're continuing to assess the situation. We don't have any information to indicate right now. The press reporting stating that there was some type of surface-to-air missile that took down the plane, that we assess that information to be inaccurate. Again, nothing to indicate, no information to suggest that there was a surface-to-air missile.
Again, two U.S. officials saying that they believe that there is intelligence to suggest that this was sabotage, and again, that it is likely that an explosive was on board, but they don't have enough information to say that definitively at this point, Joe.
So, Megan, while all this is playing out, of course, the war in Ukraine continues. We understand Kyiv has been renewing its attacks on Crimea. What can you tell us about that?
That's right. Kyiv has said that they've launched this special operation as they continue this slow-moving counteroffensive. According to Russian officials, they say that a missile was launched right near Moscow that they were able to knock down. They also say that some 42 drones were launched into Crimea. They were able to knock those down as well. They say no reports of damage, no reports of injuries. But this is something that we have been seeing most certainly for the last several weeks, is that these attacks going into Russian territory, these drones that are being launched into Russian territory. Over the last several days, we have seen major airports within Russia having to ground aircraft, causing delays because of these drones. We've seen explosions taking place inside Russia. While Ukraine is pushing forward through this counteroffensive, we know that the people inside Russia are rattled, are on edge, and frankly fearful as the war, in some ways, is being returned to their front doors.
Right.
Joe?
Megan Fitzgerald. Megan, thank you so much.
Dangerously high temperatures expected again today from Kansas City to New Orleans.
Meteorologist Angie Lastman joins us now with the latest forecast for your morning news now weather. Angie, good morning.
Good morning to you guys. We made it to Friday, and we've seen some improvements for some folks when it comes to those temperatures you just mentioned. But yes, we're still going to have a large section of the country dealing with oppressive afternoon highs, and we're going to talk about that. But some relief is on the way for folks like Chicago that dealt with a temperature of 100 degrees yesterday and feels like temperatures of 120. So incredible heat was kind of centered over the Midwest down to parts of the Gulf Coast. And the Midwest is doing a lot better, but it comes at a price. We've got a system working through this region here, and even overnight, places like Detroit had really strong storms, severe storms, and even a couple of reports of tornadoes last night. Now that rain has worked out towards the East Coast, so we've got Boston, New York dealing with already some flight delays. So if you're headed out early this morning, check in with the airlines because we've seen that. Eventually, this will start to work offshore, but that cold front moves a little farther to the south and east. And even the Northeast will see a little bit of a difference in your humidity levels as we get into tomorrow. So that is what's going on for folks up there. But notice that cooler air is not reaching from basically St. Louis down to New Orleans, out towards Houston, Dallas, you name it in this area. And we're going to continue to see temperatures flirting with those triple digits, if not higher than 100 degrees, and feeling much warmer than that. Nashville, heads up, you're headed to 100 degrees today. You'll feel like 108. Kansas City, similar story there with a feels like temperature this afternoon of 108. Lake Charles will see a heat index value of 112 this afternoon. So that really oppressive heat stays in place from really the southern plains all the way through the southeast, and it centers there over the next couple of days. We're not going to see improvements in this region, but places like Kansas City, you'll see some minor improvements as you get into tomorrow, and really across parts of the Midwest and stretching into the Northeast. A nice couple of days as we round out our weekend and head into our upcoming work week with temperatures into the low 80s. Unfortunately for our friends in the south, like Houston, you'll still be in the triple digits. Monday, Tuesday, you'll be close to that 100 mark. So we don't see a whole lot of improvements when it comes to the temperatures there. And when we look at our kind of longer range, as we look into next week, it looks like that part of the country still will have warmer than average conditions. So we'll be closely watching that. When we look ahead to the weekend, we've got a couple things to note. Of course, I mentioned the cooler conditions and the stifling heat, but some heavy rain is expected as we get into parts of the Rockies for Saturday. So heads up if you have outdoor plans. The West Coast looks great, especially after last weekend and dealing with the busy conditions of Tropical Storm Hillary. You got plenty of sunshine and nice temperatures to deal with there. Looking ahead to Sunday, a great day across the Midwest, the Northeast, but the showers and thunderstorms will be centered across parts of the Southeast, and we'll once again be dealing with those record highs. It doesn't look like we have much, relief coming for folks there, so we'll still be into the triple digits for our friends in the South. And the extended period. It's
so interesting because I was looking, you and I will head to Washington today for Saturday today, and it's going to be 10 degrees hotter there, and it's not that far away.
And it's just that cold front. And eventually, as it sinks south, you'll see Washington, D.C. will see a little improvement too.
Okay, sounds good.
Just gotta wait for it.
Thanks so much. Coming up, a historic launch being put on the back burner for now. We're digging into the first of its kind mission and when it is now set to take flight.
But first, inflation causing chaos in the streets of one of the biggest countries in South America. Up next, we're digging into the politics behind the pain and why some experts fear it could get even worse. We're back with the skyrocketing inflation out of Argentina, which is sending people into desperation. There have been multiple incidents of looting across the country as locals ransack grocery stores and other businesses for food and basic necessities. And some fear the situation is likely to worsen. chaos playing out in the streets of Argentina as business owners fend off looters with firearms while frustrations mount over astronomical inflation rates growing to more than 110%.
Es impresionante, es un desastre, ya tenés que andar mirando para todos lados, pero bueno, es lo que se está viviendo hoy.
Scenes of people running from stores with shopping carts full of goods, prompting shops to reinforce storefronts with metal doors.
The situation is dire. People are taking matters into their own hands.
The economic unrest stretching from cities near the capital to the Patagonia region, leading to more than 100 people detained and police called in to guard gas stations and supermarkets. Riot police sent to another region where fires were intentionally set.
Esto es muy triste y yo, el tema es también mirar el lado de la clase baja, del hambre, porque hay chicos que tienen hambre.
Government officials alleging the incidents are isolated and coordinated in the midst of a heated election year.
Que no son espontáneos, que no es una casualidad. Es una casualidad.
Yet the financial crisis only expected to get worse. JP Morgan forecasting inflation to end the year at 190%.
Essentially, the country is bankrupt. And the only way to solve that temporarily is by printing more IOUs, which is what the local currency is. There's more paper money chasing fewer goods, and the income of people is very minimal.
The army is out in force this morning, but the looting and rioting continues.
The dramatic images reminiscent of unrest in 1989, when inflation increased by over 100% in less than a year.
A week of rioting and looting triggered by economic problems. At least 3 people have been killed and dozens of others have been hurt in the fighting. Hundreds of people have been arrested.
And again in 2001, the nation suffering steep losses as prices surged once more.
During 2 days of upheaval, 28 people were killed, dozens injured, and hundreds of shops ransacked and looted.
Argentina is a wealthy country that has produced poverty. And it had its ups, its downs. Now it's been, for the last 20 years or so, mostly down. And it has reached bottom.
Citizens now struggling to keep up with the rising costs of everyday essentials. Merchants unsure of what price to put on goods, putting up notices that customers should ask for the cost at the register.
Se fueron por las nubes los precios, en todo sentido, Es una locura lo que se está viviendo.
This week, the IMF approving a $7.5 billion loan to the country while people prepare for what could be a chaotic presidential election in October. The situation is so dire that there is a black market for the U.S. dollar that is now more than twice the official exchange rate.
International headlines now, and the Brics group of emerging economies has welcomed several more countries in what could mean a shift in the world's balance of power.
Raf Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv. Good morning, Raf.
Valerie, Joe, good morning. Yeah, the Brics group of developing nations is welcoming in some new members. The bloc's name comes from the initials of its first 5 states, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And it was designed as a counterweight to the Western-led G7. The group is now expanding to include Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, Egypt, Argentina, and the United Arab Emirates. Rising global temperatures are threatening the future of one of Antarctica's most majestic animal species, the emperor penguin. A new study found that 80% of emperor penguin colonies had no new chicks survive in the last year. That's due to an enormous loss of sea ice as surrounding water temperatures rise. And finally, another day, another historic Italian landmark defaced by tourists. This time, it was a 460-year-old hallway in Florence, which was spray painted with German soccer slogans. Authorities say it's going to cost $10,000 to repair, and it comes, of course, after a series of tourists were caught carving their names into the Colosseum in Rome. And guys, it's really not that hard. Go to Italy, enjoy the pasta, and don't deface the landmarks, right?
No kidding. I don't know why people are doing this. My goodness. Eat the pasta. All right, Raf, thank you so much.
We're staying on top of major news this morning. Former President Trump officially arrested and processed for the 4th time.
We're digging into what makes this arrest different and where things go from here. That's next.
We're back now with more on our top story. The fallout this morning after former President Trump turned himself in to be booked on felony charges in connection with efforts to overturn the 2020 election in Georgia.
In a historic moment, Trump became the first former president ever to have a mugshot taken. He was booked and also fingerprinted at the Fulton County jail. Trump was in and out of the jail in about 20 minutes last night. His journey from New Jersey to Atlanta was the focus of intense media attention. The former president has denied any wrongdoing in this case. We're now joined by civil rights attorney and former prosecutor David Henderson. David, good morning. Thanks for joining us. So Trump facing 13 counts in this Georgia case. What do you think is likely going to be his defense in this one?
Morning, Joe. He doesn't have a good defense to this case. The law is just too broad. There are too many different ways you can prove it. His defense is going to have to be to pivot to try to get the jury to nullify. And that's where a jury says, hey, look, we see what the law is. We understand how it applies here, but we're just not going to do it, kind of like in the movie A Time to Kill. And the reason I say that is because this law is kind of like my mom tells us, don't kick the ball in the parking lot after practice because a church is letting us use their fields. We're kicking it one day and somebody breaks a window. She gets there and I'm like, hey, Joe did it. I'm a terrible co-defendant. Say, Joe did it, Mom. It wasn't me. She's going to say, look, all of you are kicking the ball. You're all guilty. You're all responsible because you are all part of this. That's what he's facing here.
David, we know that Trump is not the only defendant. He is one of 19 people who are facing charges in this case. How likely is it that all of them will go to trial? Could we expect some plea deals to be negotiated here?
There's no good way to anticipate that, but you can look at the other cases Fani Willis has handled with using this Rico law, and typically things whittle out as you approach to trial. I forget exactly how many teachers she charged in the Atlanta teacher scandal, but I think it was somewhere around 30. Only 12 of them actually ended up at trial. So we're focused on the big people, the people you're showing pictures of here, like former President Trump, Eastman, Meadows, Giuliani. There are a lot of other actors here who don't have the money or the resources that they do. They will probably cut deals earlier on because they just can't afford to invest in a case that's going to take on this long.
So as for Trump, we don't know when it's going to go to trial for him, but what are some of the challenges that Fulton County DA Fani Willis is likely going to encounter as the state tries to make its case against Trump?
This case is a huge lift for her, and it takes substantial resources to be involved in this type of a case. The Atlanta teacher scandal case lasted longer than any criminal case in the history of the state of Georgia. It lasted for 8 months. This case will last even longer than that. I think this case will probably last for a year. And one of the things that was really hard for me to get used to as a prosecutor was how many really serious cases I had to work on at one time. This case will stretch the resources of her office really thin if she was dealing with normal defendants, but she's not. She's going to be facing legal challenges that she's never quite seen before, and so her resources are going to be limited for a very long time dealing with this case.
David, thanks so much for joining us this morning. We appreciate your analysis.
We want to bring in NBC News presidential historian Michael Beschloss now to talk about this monumental moment in American history. Michael, thanks for being with us this morning. What is your take on former President Trump's now 4th indictment? It is, of course, historic, but is the history of it all starting to wear off?
No, I think it really shouldn't, Valerie, and good to see you this morning, Joe. Here's a case where, you know, we historians like to say this reminds us of Millard Fillmore or something like this. This reminds us of almost nothing because we have never seen before a president of the United States indicted 4 times in state and federal venues for all sorts of things, ranging from keeping secret documents to possibly fomenting an insurrection in a conspiracy with others. That has never happened before. The closest we've got is Richard Nixon, 1974. Resigned the 9th of August, was pardoned by Gerald Ford a month later. A lot of people said to President Ford, why don't you wait until Nixon is at least indicted, get him fingerprinted in a mugshot, and then pardon him? Nixon very shrewdly said, no, I want this pardon now, because Nixon knew that the force of having a mugshot, such as the one that we see of President Trump, ex-President Trump last night, sort of almost changes, at least visually, your place in history.
And Michael, I want to ask you more about that specific thing, the mugshot, something we never thought we'd see of a former president. It is the front page of newspapers today. It'll be in history books for years to come. Talk to us about just this portrait of a president that's unlike any other.
Well, Nixon's whole thing was if there's no mugshot, people will forget what happened. And to some extent, that's true. Even later presidents, like President Trump when he was serving in office, essentially forgot the lesson of Nixon and said, well, you know, perhaps if I do things as president, those will be illegal, those will be legal just because I do them. So now there's this mugshot that says otherwise. Classic Trump, however, he is obviously using this to send a message to his supporters and his enemies, which is, I am strong, I am angry, watch out.
Michael, looking to the future beyond the election, what impact does this moment have on Trump's legacy as a former president, things like having a presidential library or his relationships with the rest of the living presidents?
Well, this is a case where it really depends on what happens. If he's cleared of all charges and the American people feel that he was unfairly accused and then perhaps elected to the presidency next year and let's say serves well in office, I'm not predicting any of this, I'm just saying hypothetically, this will look a little bit better. But if he is convicted, if he is seen in jail or preventive detention, if the Americans come to believe that these were serious charges and the case was made and he was convicted justly, Donald Trump will be in a category of his own. No other president of the United States, sitting or former, ever got into this kind of trouble.
Michael, let's talk about what we could see in the next year. The Quinnipiac poll just before the indictment in Georgia does show Trump in a potential matchup with President Biden, a virtual tie. So we could have a candidate who is facing criminal charges, perhaps attending his own criminal trial or trials. We talked about Nixon, but when it comes to the campaign trail, does anything in history come even close to comparing with this?
No, because we've never had a president in this kind of trouble who was, you know, thinking of running for re-election and was the front runner for one of the two major parties. This is so unusual in American history, it is getting to be almost surreal.
All right, Michael Beschloss, as always, we appreciate you joining us having you on to talk about these moments in history. Thanks
Love
again.
it. Thank you so much, Joe and Valerie.
Coming up, historic mission on hold.
Up next, we're going to talk with former astronaut Mike Massimino to discuss what makes the crew of this weekend's launch different than any other that's come before. Welcome back. Early this morning, SpaceX scrubbed its latest Crew 7 launch mission, saying it wants more time for safety and operational checks.
The launch has now been pushed to early tomorrow morning with an anticipated Sunday arrival for that Dragon spacecraft at the International Space Station. Former NASA astronaut Mike Massimino joins us now. Mike is also a professor of mechanical engineering at Columbia University and a senior advisor for space programs at the Intrepid Museum. Mike, thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Thanks for having me.
The launch was supposed to take place this morning, now been pushed back to tomorrow. What happened there?
We don't really know yet. As you said in the lead-in there, it says for, I guess, technical reasons or analysis. It's probably not weather, because that's something that they would say. But they're not really saying. So we'll have to, I guess, wait to hear more. It doesn't sound like it's anything major, because they are looking to turn around pretty quickly, and they have another attempt coming up late, early morning Saturday, which is kind of like tonight, sort of, 3 a.m. or so, 4 a.m. So they're not saying what it is, which is kind of interesting, but I don't think it's anything major, or else they would be standing down for a lot longer.
I feel like the motto "better safe than sorry" really applies here.
Yeah, and for me, it's it's kind of interesting too. Is like NASA tends to tell you what's going on a little bit, and SpaceX, being a private company, might be a little more protective of what's going on.
Yeah.
But so we'll see how that plays out. For me, that's kind of interesting, because usually they let you know. NASA tells you what's happening, but SpaceX is in control of this launch. It's not NASA, it's SpaceX.
Which we're still kind of getting used to that
it's
distinction.
A little bit different
there.
model. Yeah, I mean, NASA's still involved, but it's mainly a SpaceX call.
Let's talk about the crew here.
Yeah.
It's a pretty unique bunch. What should we know about them?
Well, I kind of like all of them. I don't know the Russian fella, but Jasmine Mobelli is from Long Island, and we had the same gym teacher, which is kind of cool. Really? Yeah, Arlene Asti was my gym teacher at Cary High School in Franklin Square, and then she went to Baldwin High School, and that was our connection. When I met Jasmine soon after she was selected as an astronaut in 2017, we exchanged that information. So it was kind of cool, because she's from a similar area. She had that connection. She grew up watching me go to space, apparently, which was kind of flattering, but that was kind of cool. And so I'm really rooting for her. Andy Mogensen is the first Danish astronaut, and he's a really cool guy. He's been in space on a shorter mission, 10 days. Now he's going up for 6 months. And then Satoshi Furukawa is a friend of mine. We served together in the astronaut office. He's been around for a while, for almost 20 years as a Japanese astronaut, so I know him pretty well. So I'm kind of excited for all of them. It's the first time, the historic nature of this, first time you've had 4 astronauts from different countries going together.
You and Jasmine must have had a really good gym teacher.
She was great. Miss Assey was awesome, man. She was great.
Memorable.
Yeah.
Mike, NASA's next frontier seems to be traveling to the moon. India just made that historic landing on the southern portion. What can we expect to see next?
Well, this is pretty exciting, I think, because of where they landed, where India was able to land that rover, because the southern part of the moon, the south pole of the moon, is where there's ice, and so that's where we're headed now. We're hoping to go now. Back in the Apollo days, we landed mainly around the equator. It's easier to get there. It's very challenging to get to that South Pole from the orbital dynamics and the physics involved, but they were able to pull that off. So what I'm looking forward to finding out in the next couple of days, hopefully next few weeks, because they're going to be exploring for a while. We're going to get the results for a while, but what is that ice like? Did they encounter any? Could it be made into drinking water? Could it maybe be used for rocket fuel? And it's a pretty good precursor to sending people there, which NASA's hoping to do in the next couple of years. So the moon is within our reach again, and not just for a little visit. Well, I shouldn't call them little visits, but what we did when I was a kid with the Apollo missions that inspired me to become an astronaut. Now we're looking to go there to stay. And it's not just the United States who has their eyes on it, it's also India and other countries. So hopefully we'll do it together.
What went through your mind when you saw India make history this week?
I was kind of happy he pulled it off, because it's not an easy thing to do. People talk about doing all kinds of things on the moon. I got a phone call from a group that wanted to do like little car races on the moon. Like, that's great, but you got to get there. You know, the hardest thing is getting there. And so I was very excited that they were able to pull this off and land in a place that we have not been able to land yet. So I was just really happy for them. I think it shows one of the advantages of the space program is prestige for those involved. So I think it's a big hit. I was on Indian television, and they're very excited about this over there. So I think it's a great thing for their country, and I think it's really a great thing for the world. And I really hope we do explore together. That's a big country with a lot of smart people, and now they have a successful space program, which they've had for a long time, but now they pulled this off. I think it's a great feather in their cap. I hope they keep going.
Cool.
Sounds good.
Mike Massimino, thank you so much.
There you
Good
go.
to have you on.
Thanks for having me. All right.
Financial headlines now. Amazon and Disney are starting a new streaming partnership.
CNBC's Contessa Brewer joins us with that and other news. Good morning, Contessa.
Hi, Valerie. Nice to see you. Hello, Joe. Amazon is in talks with Disney about a new streaming version of ESPN. The information reports Amazon could also take a minority stake in the network. ESPN is considering charging between $20 and $35 a month, which, of course, would make it the most expensive streaming service. Last month, Disney CEO Bob Iger told CNBC he wants to keep ESPN and look for partners to help take it directly to consumers. The Justice Department is suing SpaceX allegedly for discriminating against refugees and asylum seekers in its hiring. The suit alleges that job postings and public statements on social media from CEO Elon Musk, SpaceX wrongly claimed under federal rules that it could only hire U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents or green card holders. The government says recruiters and company officials actively discourage people from seeking jobs. SpaceX hasn't commented on that case. And Walmart is teaming up with Wing, the drone delivery service owned by Amazon, to offer service in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Wing will deliver orders from a Walmart supercenter in the region and expand to a second store by the end of the year. It will make deliveries to homes within 6 miles of those stores and says those deliveries will arrive in less than 30 minutes. Walmart currently offers drone deliveries in 7 states. So ingenious that they're using a competitor's drone service to deliver their goods. Guys.
Yeah, it's an interesting partnership there. I'm still skeptical about the whole thing flying and dropping my package.
I don't need my toilet paper dropped off later. I'll just go to the store.
All right, Contessa, thank you so much. As teens around the world become addicted to their phones and to gaming devices, China's government is clamping down on young people's screen time. NBC News foreign correspondent Janice Mackey-Freyer looks at the new limits.
Every day after Zhao Yingyou finishes her schoolwork, She'll usually go online to chat with her friends or play her favorite video games, spending 3 hours a day or longer connected to a world the 11-year-old says feels less lonely.
I don't have friends play with me, but on the lights, I always have friends.
Her parents are split on that universal question about kids, technology, and time spent online. How much is too much? It's a debate of huge proportions here in China, with an estimated 730 million gamers of all ages. The concern is that young people here are at risk of becoming addicted to apps, games, and social media platforms like China's version of TikTok. And so the government is proposing strict new rules to limit kids to age-appropriate content, requiring app developers and providers to coordinate with companies that make smartphones and other devices to create a youth mode parental control system on phones, smartwatches, and other devices in kids' hands.
So once your mobile phone add that system, then it requests that the parents open or start that system. So the decision maker is the parents.
China's measures to impose self-control on screen-addicted youth are nothing new. Back in 2021, China imposed a strict 3-hour-per-week limit for kids playing video games. The rules were not so popular with game-hungry teenagers, but a study last September by Nico Partners, a gaming market intelligence firm, found that the number of youth gamers declined substantially as a result of the rules, from a peak of 122 million in 2020 to 82.6 million in 2022.
Are these rules a good idea?
It's a solution for the Chinese people or parents. They could control and could observe and could protect the kids.
So far, the regulations are supported by parents here who admit it's helpful being able to tell their kids, don't blame us, it's the law. Gu Zhenjian says her 9-year-old doesn't read or play outside anymore, only game, she says, but added, now he can do nothing about it. I told him that's the rule. It isn't foolproof, though. Kids can easily just use their parents' devices to trick the system, and it isn't clear how the government will enforce the rules on companies when ultimately it's parents who are in control. Janice Mackey-Frere, NBC News.
Welcome back. It was the moment fans were waiting for. Yesterday, we finally got to see Samantha Jones in the Sex and the City spinoff, and just like that, actress Kim Cattrall returned as the beloved character from the original Sex and the City series. It was a brief cameo appearance in the new show's season 2 finale. In the scene, Samantha calls Carrie, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, from a car, saying she won't be able to make it to New York for a final goodbye to Carrie's brownstone apartment. Cattrall had previously announced she was done playing Samantha back in 2016, so fans were delighted to see her return, even if the co-stars were not actually in the same room for the scene. Valerie, I know you watched it too. I guess my expectations were low considering the history. It was okay, right?
It was okay, and they just announced they're renewing it for a 3rd season, so who knows? Maybe she'll make another appearance then.
Fingers crossed.
We'll see. Thanks, Joe.
Yep.
Good Friday morning to you. I'm Valerie Castro in for Savannah Sellers.
I'm Joe Fryer. Right now on Morning News Now, Trump surrenders. The former president is out on bail this morning after turning himself in to authorities in Georgia last night. It's the latest development in that case focused on efforts to overturn the 2020 election there. The process yielding this now viral mugshot. We've got team coverage on what comes next, what it could mean for his run for the White House. Also this morning, breaking the silence. Russian President Vladimir Putin now on the record speaking out for the first time about the Wagner Group chief who's presumed to have been killed in a plane crash earlier this week. What Putin said about the man who led that aborted mutiny attempt against Russian military leaders. Plus, don't call it a comeback for superstar gymnast Simone Biles. She's preparing to step back into the floor and into the spotlight at this year's U.S. gymnastics competition later tonight. And we're going to end this hour with your can't-miss list, including quite the nostalgic throwback for millennials with both Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus releasing some brand new music. what's old is new again, except they're both still very young,
Yes.
so I don't really consider them old. More on that coming up later. Let's begin with former President Donald Trump's surrender to authorities in Georgia.
In addition to becoming the first sitting or former president to have a mugshot taken, Trump was processed, fingerprinted, and given an identification number. He is charged with 13 felony counts surrounding his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. NBC News correspondent Blaine Alexander has the latest from Atlanta.
Well, Mr. Trump's motorcade came right down this street and entered the jail through this gate right here behind me. He was in and out on the complex for just 21 minutes, inside the actual building for even less time. Several deputies tell me that is by far the fastest booking that they have ever seen. And of course, all of it is giving way to that stunning image of former commander-in-chief posing for a mugshot. It's an image never before seen in American history, a mugshot of former President Donald Trump, released overnight by the sheriff's office in Fulton County, Georgia. It comes after Mr. Trump surrendered to authorities at the county jail, where he was officially charged with trying to overturn his 2020 election loss in Georgia. He remained defiant as he left the state.
I did nothing wrong.
And overnight, describing the surrender to Newsmax.
No, it is what it is. I took a mugshot, which I never heard the words mugshot. Didn't teach me that at the Wharton School of Finance.
Now, the former president is trying to turn the unprecedented photo into a political asset. His campaign is selling mugshot T-shirts with the caption, "Never Surrender," and posting the image on X, formerly known as Twitter. His first post on the platform in more than 2 years since his suspension after January 6th. With the area around the Fulton County Jail on heavy lockdown, Mr. Trump was inside for less than 20 minutes, entering booking information, hair color, blonde or strawberry, eyes, blue, height 6'3" and weight 215 pounds. He was then released on a $200,000 bond. Charles Shaw, the bail bondsman who facilitated Trump's release, spoke with NBC's Gabe Gutierrez.
It was a wow moment, an overwhelming moment, and I just wanted to make sure that we did it right.
Outside the jail, a parade of supporters.
Will you vote for him?
Absolutely, 100%.
Even with the legal challenges, even with the indictments?
Yeah, because they're phony.
This morning, 17 of the 19 total co-defendants, including Mr. Trump, have turned themselves in ahead of today's deadline set by DA Fani Willis, including former White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, seen here in a mugshot of his own. This morning, the GOP frontrunner's surrender is making waves on the campaign trail. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in Iowa asked if Trump's legal troubles will overshadow the primary race.
If Republicans let it overwhelm, then it will. But we don't have to let it overwhelm.
And we are closing in on that noon deadline for all of the co-defendants to turn themselves in. The sheriff says he does believe that everyone will surrender by that deadline, and the DA has made it clear that she will not hesitate to issue an arrest warrant for those who do not. Back to you.
All right, Blaine Alexander, thank you so much.
Joining us now is Kristen Gibbons-Fedden. She is a civil rights attorney and former prosecutor, as well as an NBC News legal analyst. Kristen, good to have you with us again. So what is Trump's likely defense here, especially with that evidence we've all heard from 2.5 years ago, that recording of his phone call to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger asking him to find those 11,000 votes?
Well, I think that Trump's defense really has to focus on eliminating intent, putting aside their preliminary attempts to try to dismiss the case because of a motion to dismiss, or even try to move it to federal court, or even change a venue so it's not in Fulton County. But specifically with regard to that tape, they really are going to have to try to paint President Trump as a man who was president, who was trying to make sure that the election was fair and equitable. And that would have been his presidential duty at that time. They might emphasize this by presenting witnesses or playing the entirety of that call to really offer the needed context so that they can prove that, in fact, all he wanted to do was ensure that all of the votes were properly counted and make sure that there was no fraud. I think in addition to that, they're really going to have to show that any statements that he made that the prosecution is alleging were false were in fact made at the time when he believed that they were false. That is really difficult for the prosecution to have to do because they're going to have to show that they were made at the time that he was false. And so people make misimpressions all the time. So in order to prove that, they really have to show the intent. So I think any defense is really going to center around eliminating the intent.
I want to ask you about the timeline. One of Trump's co-defendants filed a request for speedy trial, and Fulton County's DA, Fani Willis, is requesting a start date of October 23rd, just 2 months away. Could this impact the timeline of Trump's trial? Are we possibly going to see 19 different trials here? What's likely going to happen?
You know, I don't anticipate that we'll actually see 19 different trials, but we may see 5 to 10 different trials, certainly. You know, within the Georgia jurisdiction for criminal cases, those cases for speedy trial should be heard within 2 terms. So it was interesting when Cheeseborough made that motion, DA Willis came back and said, hey, you really want a speedy trial? Let's put it in October. Obviously, the other defendants are trying to push away, including Trump, whose anticipated defense is always delay, delay, delay. But we absolutely could see some of those cases go right after that October trial date, and some of those co-defendants be tried with Cheeseborough at that October trial date.
So before we get to a trial, we have an arraignment that's likely going to happen sometime after Labor Day. What does then happen after that? What do we expect to be the most immediate next steps?
I think there's going to be a lot of dates for pretrial motions. Look, Trump's team, as well as the other co-defendants, they're going to try to get this case removed from Fulton County, whether it be in federal court or either be change of venue. They're also going to try to dismiss this case in some way, fashion, or form. And don't forget, they're going to try to suppress that evidence. That very critical tape you were talking about before, Joe, they may try to move to suppress it. I don't anticipate them being successful, but they still have to try. So we're going to see tons of motions, and that's all going to be culminated from scheduled motion hearings.
All right, Kristen Gibbons-Fedden, as always, thank you so much.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has been speaking out about Yevgeny Prigozhin, who is presumed dead after that plane crash on Wednesday. Russian aviation officials say the leader of the mercenary Wagner group was on the private jet when it came down, but questions remain about what caused the crash. NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel joins us now with the latest. Richard, good morning.
Good morning. The spokesman for the Kremlin, who is also Vladimir Putin's personal spokesman, denied any involvement in the killing of Yevgeny Prigozhin, the leader of the Wagner Group, or I think we can say now fairly conclusively the late leader of the Wagner Group. But U.S. intelligence is drawing its own conclusions.
The U.S. believes Russian mercenary leader Yevgeny Prigozhin was likely on this plane when it suspiciously crashed outside Moscow on Wednesday, and that he is dead. British officials are calling it very likely. But what exactly brought down the plane is still a mystery. 2 U.S. officials said intelligence gathered so far points to sabotage, with one official saying a leading theory is that an explosive was placed on board, although they can't say with certainty. U.S. officials are convinced this was no accident, but payback for Prigozhin's mutiny 2 months ago, when he dared to lead a column of mercenaries toward Moscow and challenge Russian President Putin's grip on power. While many suspect he ordered the hit, Putin said Russian investigators still need time to learn all the facts. He offered his sincere condolences and described Prigozhin as a talented businessman, but who also made serious mistakes in his life. The Pentagon says there's no indication the jet was hit by a surface-to-air missile, that the heat signature of a launch wasn't detected. Russian aviation officials say they've recovered the remains of the 10 people on board, some so disfigured, identification is difficult.
Whatever happened at 28,000 feet was catastrophic in nature, and it basically knocked the airplane out of the sky.
This morning, new images were posted on Russian social media showing the wing that was ripped from the plane in mid-flight, reportedly found nearly 2 miles from the crash site. The Kremlin has so far made no mention of Prigozhin's mutiny, but the message seems clear without it. If you challenge Putin, this is the price.
The Kremlin this morning said that it had no involvement in killing Prigozhin and called those accusations Western speculation and pure lies.
Richard, thank you so much.
Early this morning, SpaceX scrubbed a scheduled Crew 7 launch mission to the International Space Station. It's now expected to take place tomorrow. NBC News correspondent Tom Costello has the latest from the Kennedy Space Center.
Yeah, good morning. Disappointing. We really were expecting Crew 7 would lift off at about 3:50 a.m. this morning, but they scrubbed at the last minute. They say they need to work a few safety issues. They're going to try again tomorrow morning at about 3:27 a.m. The clock ticks back. But in the meantime, it's not just this mission that the world is focused on. The world is also focused right now on the lunar South Pole.
This weekend, the space world will be watching this space for the launch of a NASA crew to the International Space Station. The launch delayed overnight. SpaceX says it was taking more time to confirm safety issues. With 4 lives on the line, every launch is dangerous.
What we do up there is for all of us here on Earth, and hopefully will benefit our society for many, many years in the future.
This is the most international crew yet, represented by the U.S., Japan, Denmark, and Russia. Still a space partner despite the embargo and war in Ukraine.
When you go to the ISS and you look at the planet, you see that there are no borders.
But as this crew rockets to a 6-month stay on the space station, the world's focus is really on the moon.
Lander module.
India this week landed the first robotic spacecraft on the moon's south pole, days after Russia's unmanned Luna 25 crashed in the same area. Now the focus shifts to NASA.
The future of America's space program is here at the Operations and Checkout Building at the Kennedy Space Center, where right now they're assembling the spaceships that will return America to the moon.
Last year, an uncrewed Artemis mission orbited the moon. Now, engineers are working on the Orion capsule that will do a lunar flyby, a big loop, as soon as next year. Already, the Artemis 2 astronauts are in training.
And I just feel like this is a robust machine that's ready to take us around the moon.
If the Artemis 2 lunar flyby is successful, Artemis 3 will land on the moon. But NASA Chief Bill Nelson says that mission will not be an Apollo repeat.
We're going back to the moon. It's actually a different moon. We're going to the South Pole.
The South Pole, which may hold frozen ice water, critical for a future moon base and a potential source of rocket fuel for future missions to Mars. It's why that Indian probe landed there last week. China wants to land its own astronauts there by 2030.
Tom, I think the space race is really between us and China, and we need to protect the interest of the international community.
Back here at the Kennedy Space Center, and this is a mock-up of the Artemis rocket that will carry astronauts to the moon one day, and this is the Orion crew capsule. This is where they will actually ride. Importantly, NASA Chief Bill Nelson says right now Russia and China are working together to eventually build a lunar base, a moon base. He says it's all the more reason why the international community, led by NASA, must get there and build a robust base, with China and Russia also trying to stake out a claim. Guys, back to you.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you so much.
Back here on Earth, time now for a check of your morning news now weather.
Tracking the tropics for us is meteorologist Angie Lassman. Angie, good morning.
Good morning, guys. And boy, did the tropics wake up over the past couple of weeks. We've got numerous areas that we're keeping an eye on, so let me give you all the details that you might need. This area right here, you see it has just a 20% chance of developing further. That was Tropical Storm Emily. We're not going to worry about that. It's in pretty cold water, so we're not looking for development or really any impacts for that from that system. We've also got Invest 92L. You can see the area that we're looking at for it to develop has about a 50% chance over the next week or so. So we'll see if that can potentially become a tropical depression in the short term. We've also got Tropical Storm Franklin. You might have seen the heavy rain that it brought to parts of Hispaniola over the past couple of days. And we've got one area that's potentially going to develop off Honduras, maybe the Yucatan Peninsula. Either way, could potentially move into parts of the Gulf of Mexico. So that's the overview. Let's start with that area that I talked about off the coast of Honduras. This is the kind of just region of disturbed weather that we're watching. But as it starts to get into some of those warmer waters, we could potentially see a tropical depression forming, say, late weekend, maybe into the early parts of next week. And then notice the area of development that we're going to watch. This doesn't mean that we're talking about a hurricane down the line. It just means we're watching this area for potential development in that region. And maybe we could look at some interest for, say, Florida or other parts of the Gulf Coast down the line. line. We're talking next week, but it does have a good chance of developing, so we'll likely see a tropical depression here in the next couple of days. We've also got Tropical Storm Franklin that I mentioned, 60-mile-per-hour winds and moving northeast at 6 miles per hour. Looks kind of unorganized, but it is remaining pretty steady and stable as a tropical storm, but it's expected to become a Category 2 hurricane. Now, the most important thing with this is it's not expected to impact us in the U.S. with any kind of direct landfall or anything like that. The only thing you'll see into next week will likely be parts of the East Coast dealing with high surf, maybe some elevated rip current risks. So keep an eye on that, especially if you're spending the weekend or even the early parts of next week out near the coast. We will see it become a Category 2 hurricane as it sits just off to the west of Bermuda. It's had a little more of a westward shift in its track, so that's good news, of course, for our friends there, but it's worth monitoring here over the next couple of days. And meanwhile, a little closer to home, we've got some showers and some thunderstorms that are working through parts of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, a soggy morning for folks, and we could see another round of some of these thunderstorms later into the afternoon hours too. So just a heads up, if you're traveling today, we could see some delays. We've already seen some of those coming out of places like LaGuardia. We saw some strong storms overnight in places like Michigan, so wouldn't be surprised if there's some delays as far as that goes. And then make sure you're taking those frequent breaks across parts of the midsection of the country, not just this afternoon, but really, guys, into the next couple of days. There's no real relief for folks there, and impressive temperatures once again well above 100 degrees.
My goodness, in late August. All right. Yeah. Angie, thank you so much.
This morning, a notorious Oklahoma serial killer is back in the headlines. Known as the bind, torture, kill murderer, Dennis Rader is currently serving 10 life sentences in prison.
Now, officials in Oklahoma believe he may be linked to even more deaths. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch joins us now with the latest. Jesse, good morning.
Joe and Valerie, good morning to you as well. For years, Dennis Rader was known as a church congregation president and a Boy Scout leader. But for nearly 2 decades, in secret, he was also an infamous serial killer. And now it appears his list of victims may be even longer.
He slayed 10 people, styling himself the bind, torture, kill murderer.
I have many, what I call them, projects.
And this morning, authorities believe 78-year-old Dennis Rader, the infamous BTK serial killer, may be responsible for even more deaths. Searching his one-time property near Wichita, Kansas, and digging up new evidence, including these pantyhose.
I absolutely believe they were probably on a victim, and he took them after he killed them. He took them and he kept them as a reminder.
Oklahoma's Osage County Sheriff's Office says Rader is the prime suspect in multiple unsolved murders and missing persons cases, including the 1976 disappearance of Cynthia Dawn Kinney. The 16-year-old was last seen at a laundromat in Pawhuska, Oklahoma. Sheriff Eddie Verdon also suspects in 1990, Rader may have killed 22-year-old Shauna Beth Garber, her brother by phone, telling NBC he does not think Rader was responsible. But Garber's body was found in Missouri in an area where Rader's own daughter remembers fishing with her father.
He's a narcissist. Yes, he's a pathological liar and a sexual sadistic psychopath. You have to be very careful with him.
Rader killed in and around Wichita from the 1970s to the 1990s. Then in 2005, he was caught and eventually pleaded guilty to 10 murders. The case has repeatedly been the subject of documentaries.
Just look like a normal guy.
Including a show Sheriff Verdon happened to see, prompting him to visit Rader in prison. That's when the sheriff says unexpectedly, BTK may have tipped his hand on Kinney, last seen at a laundromat.
He said, well, you know, there was my favorite fantasy. Would you want to hear what it was? And I said, sure, why not? And he looked me in the eye and he said, I always wanted to kidnap a girl from a laundromat.
How many more victims do you think the BTK killer had?
I can't say for sure, but I can tell you the investigation needs to continue.
Right now, Rader is in the middle of serving 10 consecutive life sentences for killing a group of people ranging from age 9 to 62. But the sheriff tells me he's going to continue following leads, if for nothing else than to get closure for more families. Rader's own daughter says she recently visited her father in person in prison. It was her first time, she says, seeing him in person in nearly 20 years. She did that, she says, to try getting answers for investigators. We've reached out to Rader's attorney. He has declined to comment. Guys, back to you.
All right, Jesse, thank you so much.
International headlines now, and China is putting its foot down on seafood imports from Japan.
NBC's Raf Sanchez joins us now from Tel Aviv with that and other world headlines. Raf, good morning.
Hey, Joe. Hey, Valerie. Yeah, China is banning the import of all seafood products from Japan in response to the release of tainted water from the Fukushima nuclear power plant. China has called Japan's decision to discharge the water into the Pacific an extremely selfish and irresponsible act, but the UN says it's safe, and some scientists are pointing out that China releases nuclear wastewater of its own. In Spain, the male chief of the Soccer Association is still refusing to resign for his conduct during the Women's World Cup. As we told you this week, Luis Rubiales kissed one female player on the lips and grabbed his crotch during celebrations. He apologized earlier in the week, but Spain's prime minister called it insufficient. And finally, the world's furriest, fluffiest, and featheriest weigh-in is going on right now in London. Staff at the London Zoo are busy weighing all 14,000 of their animals, from gorillas to penguins to tarantulas. They apparently used a curry-scented measuring stick to convince a Sumatran tiger to stretch out. And guys, of all the animals, apparently the meerkats were the most cooperative with the zookeepers.
Good for them. You've heard the expression herding cats. How about herding the entire zoo? My goodness.
All right, Raf, thank you so much.
Yeah. Coming up, a pivotal anniversary in America's fight for civil rights. 60 years since the historic March on Washington. After the break, how has the world changed, and in what ways have things stayed the same? We're going to take a closer look.
Welcome back. Next week marks the 60th anniversary of the historic March on Washington. An estimated 250,000 people took to the streets to advocate for civil rights for Black people in America, including the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the late Congressman John Lewis, and the legendary entertainer and civil rights activist Josephine Baker.
This weekend, a new event is taking place to remember the injustices being fought then and now. The theme for the demonstrations, not a commemoration, a continuation. Let's bring in the president and CEO of the NAACP, Derek Johnson. Good to have you with us. So organizers for the march say they're calling for attention to the same injustices today that Black people faced 60 years ago. First, remind us, what was the mission of the March on Washington, and tell us how the world has changed since then and in what ways things are still the same.
Well, we were marching in 1963 for jobs, justice, and freedom. The most important thing was to ensure that the Constitution applied to everyone equally. That's still the question today. Are we a society where democracy is something that all American citizens can anticipate to be let out equally, or are we a nation that's going backwards? Our fight today is the same. Elections are what's most important in this country. They have consequences. We see that as a result of the indictment on yesterday with the former president. The 2016 election was too low for the NAACP. We see the march as a starting point to recruit volunteers to lead up to the 2024 November election. That's really important. We must have the democracy that the forefathers envisioned, and the only way we can do that is all of our voices can be heard.
Derek, the March on Washington is where Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his iconic I Have a Dream speech that still resonates with us today. But his son, Martin Luther King III, said this weekend is important to highlight his father's original message. Remind us how Dr. King was received 60 years ago. What did he stand for? And has his message been distorted?
Now, understanding that his speech was not about a dream, that was the crescendo, that was the rallying point. His speech was African Americans was converging on the nation's capital because the commitment of the Constitution was not fulfilled. It was a check that was returned back to our community, insufficient funds. And that was the purpose of the march in 1963. It is really important in the height of this current political environment that we protect our democracy, that we grow our democracy, and we ensure that democracy applies to everyone. It was not about a dream. It was about the promise, the commitment of a Constitution that should apply to all citizens equally.
So back in 1963, during the March on Washington, only one woman spoke during the program. That was civil rights activist and author Daisy Bates. This year, several women are slated to speak. Walk us through the contributions of Black women to the civil rights movement in the past and the threats that Black women are facing today.
To be clear, the march organizers were a group of men, but the actual individuals who ensured that the participants were there were women. Dorothy Height in the National Council of Negro Women played a key role. Merle Evers was supposed to speak, but she could not get through traffic. Unfortunately, we are a nation that have created otherism. And those otherisms also included women. You know, you think about it, white women could not vote before black men could. We have to be a nation where the Constitution applies to all citizens equally, and we don't create otherisms, whether it's by gender or anything else. We have an opportunity in this nation to prove that we're the leading democracy on the globe, but we can only do that if we are inclusive with all voices across our communities.
Derek Johnson, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We wish you the best this weekend. Time for our CNBC Money Minute. Zillow is offering a down payment in order to get more home buyers on board.
Contessa Brewer joins us now. Contessa, good morning.
Valerie, Joe, hello. Zillow is offering mortgages with a down payment of just 1%, trying to coax buyers into a historically unaffordable housing market. The program's lower than Freddie Mac's current best of 3%. And Zillow says it will also pay 2% of the down payment at closing. The move comes as mortgage rates hit a 22-year high this week. A plant that makes batteries for electric vehicles hiking wages for its workers by an average of 25%. The factory in Ohio is run by Ultium, which is a joint venture of General Motors and LG Energy Solutions. It had come under some harsh criticism by lawmakers for paying workers as little as $16 an hour. The wage increase, which is retroactive to last December, must still be voted on by employees. And Warner Brothers is pushing the release of Dune Part 2 from November to March. The studio says the delay is because the stars can't actually go out and promote the movie because of the Hollywood actors strike. The sci-fi film will now open on March 15th. The first installment of Dune came out in 2021 during the pandemic and made more than $400 million at the global box office. So even though it was popular and made all that money, they still need the stars to go out and promote it currently, I guess, guys.
I'm intrigued to see if we'll see more of that in the coming weeks and months. All right, Contessa, thank you so much.
Player Billie Jean King is an iconic force both on and off the court. This year, she is being celebrated as the person who 50 years ago pushed for equal prize money for both men and women at the U.S. Open. Today's Show news anchor Chanel Jones sat down with her ahead of the tournament.
This is Billie Jean King of America, the new queen of tennis.
Throughout the history of tennis, one name comes up over and over again: Billie Jean King.
A great way to win a championship.
A champion with 39 Grand Slam titles, but also a pioneer whose efforts for equal rights and equal pay transcended the sport. 50 years ago, King found herself at the forefront of change. In June of 1973, she brought dozens of her fellow athletes together for a vote to form the Women's Tennis Association. It would give the top female tennis players a united voice for the first time and help them make a living playing the sport they loved.
Were you worried that there was a chance this could fail?
Yes, I was very worried.
How would you describe the energy in the room? I mean, there was so much at stake there.
They're very quiet, but they were listening. I give them the old pep talk, we're going to grow. Think about 50 years from now, how big we can be and all that. So anyway, they voted yes.
The U.S. Open also made history later that year, becoming the first Grand Slam to offer equal prize money to male and female champions, all thanks to King's determination and her threat of a potential boycott.
What were you being told at the time as to why women were being paid less?
People don't like you as much, you don't make as much money. And then I'd ask them specifics, they go, well, I really don't know.
Were you ever worried that all of this would backfire
Sure.
in any way?
It can always backfire. You got to go for it, though. It's like serve volley, man. You got to go to net. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to move.
But King wasn't done yet.
He hustles off the court, and I hustle on the court, and that's what matters.
I don't think that she can stand up to the stress, the strain.
In September 1973, she found herself playing in a match for the ages, not for a tournament title, but rather for the advancement of the women's rights movement in the famous Battle of the Sexes against self-proclaimed male chauvinist Bobby Riggs, the world's #1 women's player, beating the 55-year-old Riggs in straight sets.
When we shook hands, put our arms around each other, he said, "I underestimated you." And I went, "Oh, where's my dad?"
That had to feel good.
Yeah, because my dad always says to my brother and me, never, ever underestimate your opponent and always respect them, even if you don't like them. That was so perfect what he had taught us.
How did your family react?
My parents hardly watched me play, but I pleaded with them to come to this match.
Yeah.
And they're actually there. So it was great.
Yeah, you talked about that one being so important. I mean, it wasn't a Grand Slam win. It didn't add to your title count, but...
Oh, that doesn't count.
But it changed your career, no question about it. Changed your life, for sure.
Oh, for sure, but it really was about social change. Women have come up to me since that match. That match has been mentioned every day of my life since that match, by the way.
Really?
I don't, unless I stay in the apartment and don't ever go out. The women got a lot more self-confidence from that. And the men will come up to me much more reflective. President Obama said he was 12 when he saw it. And he said, that match really did affect me and then how I raised our 2 girls.
At 79 years old, King says her work towards equality isn't finished yet. But tennis stars who came after her have frequently praised her immense impact and how she paved the way for their success.
A few years ago, Serena Williams posted this picture with you, and she said, "Without Billie Jean King, I don't know if any of us female athletes would be here."
Wow.
You think that's true?
I don't know. I haven't thought about that. Wow, Serena.
People consider her an icon and a
she is.
trailblazer. For her to say, you, Billie Jean King. How does that feel?
It feels great, but it feels connective, and that's what I want for each generation.
In what way? What do you mean?
We're connected to each other. Every generation passes the baton to the next generation. We have an opportunity to make this world a better place. And I want the players today to lead just like we led back in the old days. But I want them to do the same and pass the torch each generation.
Our thanks to Chanel Jones for that reporting. Billie Jean King remains an American icon all these years later. Tennis pro Jessica Pegula will pay homage to the sports legend at the U.S. Open this year by wearing this blue and white outfit, which is similar to the one worn by King during that famous 1973 face-off against Bobby Riggs.
How cool is that? All right, coming up, a very special can't-miss list if you're a millennial.
That's right. Miley Cyrus, Selena Gomez, both releasing new music today. And pop culture expert Brian Balthazar joins us with all your can't-miss content for the weekend. Coming up next. Welcome back. If you missed out on any summer movie hits, Sunday might be the best time to catch up. It's National Cinema Day on August 27th. That means theaters across the country are offering tickets for just $4. Around 30,000 screens in 3,000 locations are participating. Theater chains AMC and Regal are also offering discounted popcorn. This is only the second year of the event. It's organized by the Cinema Foundation, and it's a nonprofit which promotes moviegoing. So, Joe, maybe Barbie or Oppenheimer. Lots of options if you haven't had a chance to see
So many options out right now. What a great idea. Cool. Thanks, Valerie.
It's Friday. That means it's time for your weekly can't-miss list. All of the movies and shows you need to see this weekend.
Entertainment journalist and pop culture expert Brian Balthazar is here to give us everything we need to know this weekend. So let's start in the theaters. He's throwing things at us throughout that entire story. Summer movie season's still going on. We got 2 movies, very different movies. One about a former Israeli prime minister. One about a baseball star.
Right. The Hill is the first one I want to tell you about. It's the story of Ricky Hill and a young boy who had a degenerative spinal disease. He had to wear leg braces, but he was in love with baseball. He wanted to play. And despite actually a lot of discouragement from his family and community, he actually rose up to become a Major League Baseball player. And the real Ricky Hill is still alive today at 67, so he's watching his story, and it's been very moving for him. This co-stars Dennis Quaid. They're playing up Dennis Quaid's involvement. He plays the father, and it looks really good. It just just looks uplifting and warm, and a good baseball story. Who doesn't love a good baseball story during the summer?
No kidding. And then we have Golda.
Right, a little bit of a hard turn here, but we have Helen Mirren playing Golda Meir, the former Prime Minister of Israel, and actually the fourth elected government official in the world at that time, head of a country. So it's an amazing story, but what you may not know is she spent her childhood in Wisconsin. So it's interesting. She was born in Ukraine, grew up in Wisconsin, went on to have this amazing career.
It's a fascinating story. We had the director, Guy Nativ, on earlier this week talking all about it. Incredible. It's been 50 years, incredible period of time.
Yeah.
She's still the only female prime minister in
Right.
Israel's history.
Incredible.
Streaming, we can't forget about that. So let's start with Netflix. What should we look out for?
Okay, so you are so not invited to my bat mitzvah. Look, I don't know. And it's the title. The title is perfect. You are also, where that window has passed for many reasons. But it really, watch the trailer. It will bring you laughter and joy. And Adam Sandler's in it. And it's not just for kids. It's also for adults. It's about a teenage friendship that goes into turmoil when something happens. I don't want to give too much of it away. But then how they repair their friendship. And of course, the hilarity that comes with planning a bat mitzvah nowadays in this modern age, where you want to have like a pop singer at the, at the mojito bar and things like that. So, but it looks very, it's in the trailer. You'll see. Okay. It looks very, it looks really, really funny.
And it's Adam Sandler's real family, right?
Is it Adam? I didn't know that part. Is that right?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh,
yeah,
it may be. I should know these things as your pop culture expert. Okay, moving on.
I'm sorry.
No, you may be right. We'll find out. Don't throw anything. Vacation Friends 2 is another one. This is the sequel to Vacation Friends. Period. And this looks kind of interesting too. This is about two unlikely friends, like they're very different, two different couples that meet on the first vacation. This is the second one where they go back on vacation together. El Ray Howery and John Cena stealing the show in this one. And obviously hijinks and trouble ensues on this second vacation. The reviews are meh. But if you, I'm gonna say this is a little bit okay. And so that's something to check out.
Is meh 2 stars, 1 star? What's meh?
Meh is in the middle, I think. Yeah, not in the middle. That's 2 to 3 stars. Yeah.
All right, switching gears to music for the millennials, elder millennial here myself. Selena Gomez and Miley Cyrus, talk about what they're coming out with.
I classify as just elder, but Selena Gomez has a new single out. It is called Single Soon. The music video is also out, and it's basically she's not single yet, but she knows she's going to be. She's planning to be, looking sultry and sexy, singing the song. I think it was on number 5 on the iTunes charts this morning. It's just fun, and I think it's a light. She hasn't released something. I think maybe the last one was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. So it's a nice little foray while she's starring in Only Murders in the Building season 3.
So good.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah.
Miley with Used to Be Young, which I feel like she's not old. So.
I know, yeah, it makes me feel a little bit sad. I used to be happy until she said she wasn't young anymore. She's singing a ballad, it's just kind of an emotional ballad, singing straight to camera in her music video. And this one I think was like 7 or 8 on the iTunes chart, so it'll be interesting to see how these two duke it out. Do I think either of these are going to be breakthrough songs in the next coming weeks? I'm not sure, but I'm notoriously bad at picking a hit, by the way. Notoriously, those rights have been rescinded. Right, exactly, mark my words. Exactly, this has happened to me before.
All right, Brian Balthazar, always great to have you on. Thank you so much. It's going to do it for this hour of Morning News Now.
The news continues right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.